Israel. Your tax-deductible donation to Texans for Israel makes production possible for movies, television programming, music, special events, and much more. We provide a global platform for individuals and organizations united by their love for America and the State of Israel. Come make history with us. Contact Texans for Israel today.
Shalom, Rabbi Yitzhak Levi, unveiling Torah truth on a weekly basis. Thank you for allowing me to come into your homes so we can study Torah together. This portion is called Nitzavim. It's a military statement from the word tzava. In Israel, the IDF is called tzava, one of which is called the draft from the age of 18 till 21. In Israel, they draft, unlike in here where you can volunteer. Nitzavim, standing or presenting bounty of self. Based on Deuteronomy 29, verse 9 till 31 and verse 30. This Shabbat is the last Shabbat of the year as far as the Torah portions are concerned. Next Shabbat will be entering into Rosh Hashanah, a very trying time, a very difficult time for most people as they self-reflect on the past year, preparing themselves for the ultimate day of Yom Kippur. This is the season where Jews and believers the world over will be going to the synagogues and their house of fellowship to listen to the blowing of the shofar. Prayers will be lifted up to the heavens for shalom, peace, health, a new year of prosperity, of achieving the goals. Here in America, we always make certain goals in the month of January, what we call New Year's, or we make certain goals. And 99% of the people fail the first 3-4 weeks of the year. But this is different. This is a different kind of a new year. It begins in darkness. So, goals to put before us to be able to achieve them. In other words, why set up a goal to the sun when we know we can never reach the sun? But if we set our goals to the moon, and even if we reach halfway to the moon, that's great. Some will be praying for the Mashiach to come back this year to bring eternal shalom, peace between families, neighbors, and ultimately nations. Now consider praying for the Mashiach to come back as I do every single day. I pray for the Mashiach. But you know, there's consequences for that. Let's not be so callous about, oh yeah, Yeshua, please come back. Are you ready to face Him? Remember, he's coming with a sword. He's not coming as a lamb to be turning, so to speak, the other cheek. He's coming as a lion to devour, and a double-edged sword, the Torah. Why is this day called Rosh Hashanah and not first of the year or New Year? The sages have concluded that just as the head dictates the body, the same is for the first of the year to start with setting spiritual and physical priorities and goals for the new year. So Rosh is head in Hebrew, Shana is year. As the body has a head, so does the year. It has a head that dictates what? All of God's creation, including mankind. Adam was created in this season. The world will have fulfilled its cycle of life. It will not revert back to the chaotic state. It will revert back to the state of of the darkness, but not caused by God. This time it will be caused by man. God gave us life and light. The very first thing of His creation is, let there be light. He gave us light. But what have we done in these 6 days or nearly 6,000 years? We have been trying to blow that light off because man likes darkness. When do you think all the mischievousness, robberies, and murders take place? It's usually at night. And then it starts all over again. Yeshua will intervene on the 6th day, just as He did after creation. Yeshua intervened in the darkness before, or nearly 6,000 years ago, and He's coming back in the darkest point of mankind to intervene. And just like after darkness, He gave man a beautiful garden that sustained man with all his needs. And then here again we see the garden is coming back for those who chose Yeshua, who followed His footsteps and His commands, and they will be in this garden for 1,000 years lacking nothing. And their clothing will be light, just like the clothing of Adam and Chaya. However, the difference between that is that Adam was created from the dirt and was clothed with light, aura. In this case, it's going to be the opposite. This earthly body will be no more. We're going to have a heavenly, spiritual body, the only kind of a body who can travel through light years away into God's habitat. So, Yeshua is coming back with a garden, a home for believers for 1,000 years, just like Adam. So, this 1,000 years will be a Shabbat of rest. What I mean by rest is no more pregnancies, no more giving births, no more raising children, no more work. All these are part of the curse. And yeah, God loves a big family. And that is why He did, so He can look like His parents. He's not going to look like a giraffe or an elephant. Man was created in the image of God, in the likeness, means we're going to have the same type of spiritual body that will never get sick and will never taste death. As the year winds down back to darkness, it reminds us that creation began in darkness. Then the Spirit of Adonai comes down from heaven, and a great light comes to the universe. I'm talking about our universe. The Spirit, of course, speaks of Yeshua. He spoke light into existence. We cannot have light until we experience darkness. So, when do we appreciate the good? After we've experienced the bad. And how wonderful it is to be born and to be raised in health and every joint works like it was oiled with WD-40. And then things happen, and we're gonna say, wow, I missed this, and I missed that. We didn't miss it when we had health, but as we begin to lose our health, we definitely appreciate what we had. And what do we strive? Isn't it kind of funny? When we're young, all we care about is making money. We abuse our health. Money, 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 money. And then we get old, and the body starts falling apart. And what do we do with all the money? We spend it to try to revert back to our youth. It's never the same. So, we cannot have light until we tasted darkness. And Yeshua will allow us to go through the darkness, because in Revelation, it says, I believe it's in chapter 7, where it says that there were those that John or Yochanan saw, and they were given white robes. And he asked them, where are these coming from? And he said, from darkness, the darkness of tribulation. Yes, Yeshua said he suffered. He also promised we will suffer. So, the reason we have to undergo the darkness or the challenges of this life is so we can appreciate both physical and spiritual light when it comes. Now, the psalmist, chapter 79, verse 1, a song to Asaph. Alien nations have entered your estate. They have defiled your holy temple. They have laid Jerusalem in ruins. That's from Psalm 79, verse 1. Should not the verse have said, a weeping to Asaph, a wail to Asaph, a lament to Asaph? Why does it say a song to Asaph? See, I would always think that song has to do with jubilation and elevation of the spirit. But this is not the case. It's an example to a king who built a newly made home for his son and had it beautifully plastered, inlaid, and decorated with gold and silver and marble, fit for a king. But the son did not want to walk in his father's footsteps. Instead, he decided to live a life of the world, an evil and mischievous life. So the king came to the beautiful house with a sledgehammer and began to tear the tapestries and broke the rails and the beautiful chandeliers. The manager of the estate took a flute and began to play. Those who saw him asked, the king is overturning the house of his son, and you sit and play the instrument, the flute? Said he to them, I am singing because the king overturned his son's house, but did not overturn and vent his wrath upon his son. So there is a lesson for us to learn from this. So too was asked of Asaph. God destroyed the first temple and the sanctuary, and you sit and sing? Replied he, I am singing because God vent his wrath upon wood and stone, and did not vent his wrath upon his son Israel. You stand upright this day, all of you, before the Lord your God. That's Deuteronomy 29 and verse 9. This speaks both of Jews and Gentiles. You stand as soldiers, nitzavim, before your commander-in-chief. You stand up before you possess your land. In other words, you're going to be arrayed as a military when you enter the land. You're not going to be going there each to his own speed and running and chaotic. No, you're going to walk orderly with discipline, and Joshua will tell you where you should go. This should speak to us. We cannot sit or sleep. As God's soldiers, we are to always stand upright, ready for the command to possess. For sure, it will not be given to us, as we see that every inch of Israeli property, even though God promised to give it to them, what he's meaning by this is you'll have to fight for it, and I will assist you in the victory. The strong shall take it by force. If it is given, why would Yeshua use that statement? And the strong shall take it by force. We must be strong in word and in deed in order to break through and enter the kingdom of our God. Narrow is the way. Narrow is the way. So it's not going to be easy to just say, I want to live this life here in this world, and then when the time comes, God is going to open the door for me. That's not how it's going to happen. Every prize has to be won. Deuteronomy 31, verse 16 and 17. And the Lord said to Moshe, you are going to rest with your ancestors. Oh, how beautiful. After all this work, this is the promise, this is the reward. You're going to rest with your ancestors. And these people will soon prostitute themselves to the foreign gods of the land they are entering. They will forsake me and break the covenant I made with them. Yeah, God made a covenant with the patriarchs, but now he's making a covenant with all Israel. Then my anger shall be kindled against them in that day, and I will forsake them. And I will hide my face from them. Yeah, that speaks of the first temple, when God was ashamed of their lifestyle, and he has turned his back to them. He's turned his face away. That, of course, speaks of favor. The first temple of Solomon was destroyed, and they shall be devoured. And many evils and troubles shall befall them, so that they will say in that day, are not these evils come upon us because our God is not among us? This is kind of a catch-22, if you will. It's how you read it, the verses before and the verses after. Are not these evils come upon? In other words, there's a reason for that.